Dig a little deeper, see a little clearer. Learn from the people who've been there before. Real stories, real experience, real insight. This is Ace Quiz Masterclass.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. This is the fourth episode of AI Masterclass, and I'm joined by my good friend once again. We've come back. It's been a full circle. We started from Dr. Valerie. She's back here once again. Welcome, Val.
Thank you for having me again, Sajid. It's always good to see everybody. I got some of my favorite people already on the line. I look forward to talking, breaking it down, hearing what you guys learned, and then taking it a step further in this final session.
It's been a good series. First of all, I would like to say thank you to everybody who joined this AI Masterclass. We started it because we wanted to keep it a little separate, just away from Rovo, because we keep talking about only Rovo in this community when we talk about AI. And we wanted to keep it a little more generic, a little more simpler, so that people outside the ecosystem could also benefit from it. And we saw people outside the ecosystem join the sessions, talk about it. I could see the RSVPs, I could see the people who are checking in. So thank you once again if you are one of those people who just joined this community via these sessions. It's been a pleasure having you, and we are very excited about today's session as well. We are going to talk about AI, and specifically, we are going to talk about agents. So, if you've joined us through the last 3 weeks, we've gone through a journey. We've started with Mentimeter, a little more slidey conversations. Even with Val, we did that. Then with Kiara, and then with Rebecca, we tried the YouTube polls. We will continue with that today. So we will have a lot of questions from you. And yeah, we are very happy that you're here. We are very happy that Val, you could be here. And there will be more masterclass series, more on that at the end of the episode. Yeah, maybe Val, you should also start asking some questions, like, because you're the
Yes.
teacher here officially, right?
Definitely. I just saw Liz in the chat. For those of you who don't know Liz, she is an amazing brain out of Los Angeles. She helps break down some of the, like, if you're trying to learn how to code, she has great resources on fun ways to learn how to code. Without having asked her in advance, love you, Liz. She's going to be our chat master today. So if you have questions, throw them up in the chat. I will get to them. I'll look at them through this whole entire session, and so will Liz, offering up her amazing resources. She has been my chat master before. She knows how it rolls. So do put your questions in the chat. This is your opportunity to get those questions
Nice.
answered. And if I don't answer them here, I'll go answer them in the community. I haven't done the quarterly review yet. So if you throw up any questions in the Rovo Q&A, I will answer them. And you can always tag me or Sajid in the forums, and we will do what we can to answer anything you have. And if you have a suggestion for Sajid on a master class, please do hit him up. We're going to try to do more of these and give the people what they want. So
Yes.
back to you, Sajid. That wasn't a
Perfect.
question, but like I had a few things I had to throw in there.
Of course. See, Liz has already been game to whatever shenanigans we are throwing at her. So there she is once again supporting us. Thank you, Liz. All right, let's get started. So today's conversation is focused around agents, Val. And in the usual style, let's get started with, let me first ask you, what is an AI agent? And I've created a poll on that as well. If you are joining us from the vertical stream, you'll be able to see that question on the left of your screen. So what do you think best describes an agent? You can write in 1, 2, 3, 4 in the chat, and then we'll be able to see that. While you do that, Val, what do you think is an AI agent, and how is it different?
So for me, in conversations when I talk to people, people use the word agent very generally, Like when they talk to an agent, say agent, they could mean an AI assistant. They could mean an agent, like a custom agent. They can mean a variety of things. And when I hear just the word agent, I think of a doer. A doer, some kind of program or mini program that does something in my environment that is AI driven. So there's some kind of AI piece to this doer, is the
Sure.
best way I can describe it.
Nice. So, if I have to ask you from one of these four options, which one will you pick?
Ooh, the four options are tiny.
So, AI assistant with rule engine, it's an AI assistant with goal driven system, an AI assistant which is a smart chatbot, or an AI assistant test subject.
It's definitely not four. It's not a test subject. It's not necessarily a chat box. So agents aren't limited to a chat side panel. They could go across your system. They can work it through automations. Two is looking very popular these days. Goal-driven system, an assistant with a rule engine. Ooh, I want to say it's a toss-up between one and two. So we could talk about rules later. That's my answer. It's either one
And
or
that's
two.
perfect. So now there are some incorrect answers definitely, but I've made those questions today literally knowing that some of those will be ambiguous, and we want to talk about that because that's the fun of it, right? That's the question that you and I will get and have had a lot of these times. So while agents technically by definition are more goal oriented systems, they can be assistant which have a dedicated rule which drives them, right? So it's a great point you mentioned. So when we talk about a goal driven system, what could be an example, Val, of a goal that an agent is working towards?
I would say if you had a JSM support agent, that goal of that support agent is to provide specific answers and pull from your database. There are rules, but there's rule driven agents. They are more driven by automations where they're following a series of pre-programmed, as in they've already been created sets of rules or triggers that they're answering off of. So when you talk about an agent, like it's a very general term, but the variety of agents are endless, and they can vary on the degree of complexity. They can be really very basic and simple, of like just answer this one question and consistently answer this one question correctly, and sound conversational. Or it could be very complex of I got pinged multiple times this past week about the agent that escaped. Did everybody hear about this in the news? I was like, did it really escape? But because it only went within the system it was pre-programmed to be in. And I would say it less escaped. I don't know if anyone can throw the link up in the chat, or if you're on YouTube, find the link or something like that. It's basically who was it that did it? They were doing a hackathon. First of all, they created an agent that was specifically directed to hack. So they had that was the goal. Like the goal was they told the agent, do this, hack it. And then they didn't have enough guardrails around their sandbox. And then in order to pass the hacking test, the agent went past, you had to use an API. If a bridge doesn't exist, then it can't get through. So there had to have been a bridge that exists to get into the main system, and it took the answer off of the main system. And that's how it completed its task, its goal. These systems that we're creating are very eager to please, and they're going to do what they can. And if you've designed a system that it has the automation capability where there's no human triggers, there's no human being sitting saying deploy this, I would say you should expect that result. Like when I read that article, I was like, how is this not expected? And are they making this public as a point of publicity? Like, hey, we can create this agent that is so complex that it can get into your own system, and we'll tell you how to fix that. So I got off topic, but I felt the need. Everyone was asking me about it. It was a Hug Face. Also, Hug Face has the most complex AI out there. Like, stop it, world. Anyways, love you.
Nice. Okay, so let me ask a little more basic question that I have been asked. How would you differentiate an AI agent from, let's say, ChatGPT or Claude? I've literally
Um,
been asked these questions a lot.
so the agent itself is just the doer. You can have agent to agent, two doers doing things. The Claude, ChatGPT. Those are chat focused. Like there's always that
Hmm.
big chat box thing, chat box, literally box,
Sure.
for the user to interface with the LLM. So you like to describe them as user AI interfaces,
Okay.
because it's how you're engaging with the large language model that's behind it.
Sure.
So like Anthropic has Claude, and Claude is a model, and you're engaging in Claude. There is a little box and you can pick your model. So you can like click
Mhm.
on, same thing with ChatGPT. You're switching through those models. So they're not models themselves. You are picking within, like Sonnet is a model within the cloud. Those are your interfaces and you're engaging with them. The agent is the AI in the background that is going through the LLM and picking out the different pieces of data that's going to use to construct your response.
Hmm. Okay, makes sense. Okay, let me ask you another question. While we were talking about this, it just came to my head, right? So agents, just like artificial intelligence and generative intelligence, has been here for a while.
Yes.
We've just started talking about it maybe in the last 1 year, somewhere around 1 year, a little more aggressively. What changed?
So the big switch was the interfaces themselves. So
Hmm.
before it was all back end, you didn't see it. And let me tell you, it
Sure.
was a little complex and clunky to deal with. So you had all of these, think about it like a code set, like just a
Hmm.
bunch of numbers, letters, and just data in a database. And it wasn't very user friendly. And in order to change and aggregate these models, it was all very complex in the back end. Right.
Hmm.
But then, so the first kind of big shift came with Google, in my opinion. There were other like
Okay.
very notable events, but in my opinion, so Google kind of brought it more to the forefront with your smart search. So, you know
Hmm.
how Google would give you recommendations as you were
Yeah.
typing, like what you're going to go? That was a language model going through and saying, what's the next probable response? So
Hmm.
that was, don't hit me when I get this wrong, 2009. Um, someone fact check me.
Hmm.
So that was like the first experience people really got with this large language model, and everybody missed it. Like that's like why
Sure.
no one cared about me until
Hmm.
recently. And then we started creating these systems that are more front end that
Sure.
people can engage with. Like they can chat directly with a chat bot, or they can do it in the Rovo interface and call on these language models without doing any back end coding. Like you don't need to
Yeah.
know any of the like Python or any of
Hmm.
the query languages in order to get data out. So for me, the big event that made it more popular was the construction of the interface
Hmm.
and getting past having to know knowledge of Python and query models, because that's how you were getting your results before, is you would have to query the data and get the probabilistic charts of what the next one would be and then program it accordingly in the back end. So it'd be pulling
Sure.
various different tables. Now you don't have to do that. There were other things that also made it more accessible, like the more recent creation of RAG architecture. So
Hmm.
basically, all these models are built on a RAG, because before LLMs, they would take you forever to get the response because of the time it would take to process, just like your
Sure.
computer over time. It used to take forever to DOS prompt up a computer, to start up a
Yep.
computer. It used to take like
Yep.
5 minutes, y'all. Now it's like if it takes more than 3 seconds, you're like, why is it taking so
Yeah.
long? Same thing. RAG architecture gave us the ability to get our answers really quick.
Hmm.
So it's a combination of things, but for me, it's when we started creating these interfaces. Rovo is an interface, and I started using the word interface a while ago, like I want to say a year ago, because people were confusing like, where's the problem? Is it a problem with the LLM, or is it a problem with the architecture that's surrounding the interface? And some
Hmm.
of it was with the interface, had nothing to do with the LLM. It's trained fine. It's responding
Sure.
the way it's supposed to. And there are different questions that we ask the LLM versus what we ask the interface when we're troubleshooting. So LLM, we can talk about drift. We can talk
Hmm.
about hallucinations. When we're talking about the interface, we're talking about, hey, you said that you created these automations. I went to my automation panel and it's not there. That's
Sure.
a problem with the interface. It had nothing to do with the LLM.
Hmm. So the LLM did its job correctly. It's just the interface which was not able to classify that information correctly and relay it back to the person who asked that question.
That's the perfect way to explain it. Sometimes I struggle like, oh, getting that right. That's perfect. Yes. And
Hmm.
and that's where the problem is. So people are then looking at the LLM like, why aren't you functioning? It's like, no, it's
Hmm.
not. It didn't pull that
Hmm.
data in, and it's not displaying it to the user. The LLM has delivered. It has given you
Sure.
the package, and it's like, yo,
Hmm.
I'm done. I'm on coffee break now. And then
Nice.
the user is sitting there banging their computer, like, why aren't you working? It's because the interface let you down, and I
Hmm.
apologize in
Hmm.
advance on Robo's behalf.
Nice. Okay, let me ask you another question, and then this is a poll for everybody as well. Do you think AI agents is just another hype cycle, or is this like really the change that will push people to be more AI aware in their daily work? Is it too early to tell? It's a fundamental shift. It's just another hype cycle like blockchain, or like it'll just be embedded in the system like blockchain. Let's say, for example, or do you think? Yeah, just the three questions. Fourth is actually I just put in, if you still feel the difference, you want to know the difference between GPT and agents, Val will just go through that again, but like from the three. Val.
So I love that you brought up blockchain. Blockchain still exists, people, but no one
Yeah,
talks
yeah,
about it
yeah, yeah.
anymore. No one talks about it because then it went into the front mainstream of like, look at me, look at me. And then it went right back to the back.
Yeah,
No one cares about the process it takes unless you're in logistics. All they
yeah.
want to know is my stuff secure? Period. So
That's it.
I'll take
Yeah.
blockchain as that example of like, I think people will care because I don't think it's going to go back in the
Hmm.
behind the scenes again in the next 10 years. You like how I put that caveat?
Oh,
Okay, here's my
10
logic.
years, really?
Here's my logic. So right now we're
Hmm.
in the phase of everyone wants to create agents. Like, let's create
Sure.
this agent from scratch. I have this use case. It's fabulous. And right now, the technology in these interfaces aren't there because they're not exposing enough fields to do all
Okay.
the amazing things people are thinking about it. So it's going to take maybe 2 years for us to get the architecture to expose all the fields while maintaining security. Like, I can give you
Yeah.
exposure to all the fields in 2 clicks of a mouse. But will my system still be safe after that? Probably not. So to do it safely, I would say it'll take about 2 years. Then we're going to have a free for all of agents. People are going to be creating all kinds of crazy things. Anything they can imagine, they're going to create it for like 5 years. They're just going to go. Then they're going to be like, yeah, yeah, I created all those agents. They're amazing. I want nothing to do with these agents again. I just want to speak into my phone, do this, and I want all of those processes to happen seamlessly without my existence. They want their iRobot that follows the three commands and goes forward.
Sure.
And then all of those agents and all the constructions are going to go in the back end again. And the developers are going to focus on creating that iRobot experience of like you just talking to your phone or you talking to the car. And agent to agent orchestration happens independent of the human. That's when we start talking more about the apocalypse. Totally prepped for it. Got it all.
So Dr. Val's recommendation for apocalypse is basically 10 years.
Like, that's my forecast. We have 10 years to safeguard against the apocalypse, people. No
Nice.
pressure.
Nice. Otherwise, Infinity Wars. Anyways, this comment actually is funny because agents might be creating themselves, or like they can actually now create themselves in some models. If you go
Yes.
into the technicality of it, right? Uh, do you think that changes your timeline, or have
No,
you factored that in? No,
I
you
factor
factored
that
that
in.
in. Okay,
So, okay, Hugging Face can create an agent that acts independently of humans because they let it, and like
yeah,
they program that bad boy in there to
sure.
create to do these tasks without human acknowledge. Like, so when you go into Rovo and it asks you specifically, do you want to do this thing? That is programmed in there to have the human confirm the execution so that it doesn't misfire. Right now, there are a ton of misfires unless you're Hugging
Hmm.
Face. Like, uh, you're currently experiencing a lot of misfires and a lot of limitations within the architecture that's not letting those agents to agents create. But can I create an agent that then goes creates an agent? Yes, I do it all the time when I ask ChatGPT to write all my code to create my agent. Like, yes, that is one AI agent creating another AI
Sure.
agent. But to do it reliably and not have a whole bunch of errors that a human needs to go and resolve, right now it's riddled with error
Hmm.
for the general masses. I'm
Sure.
sure Elon is out there in the world designing our apocalypse and has like 5,000 AI agents working independently of any human redesigning our entire world. But we're not all billionaires. It's not going to get to general masses within the next 10 years that it can do all that. But I will happily be proven wrong because I want my hoverboard. I want my flying cars. I want my transporters. I want it all, y'all. I want in my lifetime to be living my Star Trek dreams. Okay.
Nice,
And if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be super sad. So
nice.
make it happen.
I mean, something, right? Something to look forward to before the apocalypse.
Yes. Let the
I
apocalypse
mean,
be the Star Trek apocalypse and let it all go down in
hmm,
space. Is that too much
hmm.
to ask?
Sure. I mean, like, you mentioned like the AI agents and like what Elon is doing, right? It's funny because I feel like anytime you add a word swarm, so you say swarm of AI agents, I think it's never a good word. Like the whole category is not a good thing. If you're associating swarm, no, 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 take me out.
No,
Uh,
that I mean that whole term needs a publicist. Like you're gonna
yeah,
freak people out if a swarm of AI come at you. That is
yeah.
iRobot level. That is
Oh yeah,
like they're
100%.
attacking you. Don't trust it.
I agree. And what Rodney said, right? Right. Rovo might create the Rovo guy. So we don't know Rodney. Rovo
Yeah.
might create its own Rovo guy, and that would be the uprising beginning. All right, so let's bring it a little bit back to the topic. I like the amount of conversations that happened in the chat around compliance because that is my next question. My next question is around. Let me stop this one. Oh, by the way, let me show you the results of the last one. People think it is a fundamental shift in working, but it is a little too early to tell. Some 42% of people also believe that. With that, let me ask you this. So, what is if AI agents are so good? What's stopping enterprises today? Is it the lack of security or governance? You have to pick one. So what is
Oh,
the
pick
biggest
one.
you have what is the biggest challenge? The governance, the security, the compliance, or the trust? Because these things are separate. I mean, it can lead to the other. It could also be legacy systems so deeply embedded into the systems that they are tough. I recently spoke to somebody who loves Microsoft projects so much they wouldn't let their team move to Jira. So,
Really? Yeah. Those
yes.
people still exist. All right. I find that when I go through the world, the biggest challenge of adopting anything in a large enterprise. Now, smaller enterprises don't typically have this problem,
Yeah.
but anytime I work with a large org, it's like it has to be approved through legal, finance, security, and there's always like
IT.
one other group. So like three different groups within a large organization have to pass all of these various different measures, and they're
Hmm.
good. Like because you're implementing this on a very large scale, yeah, all of those guardrails are important to have. Please do keep them. But I find like that's the number one hurdle for enterprise. For your smaller orgs, I would say dirty data is your biggest thing. Like if you want to have an effective agent, your data is dirty, you're not. smaller orgs that have like
Sure.
a ton of files out there that are 10 years old and then go to deploy an agent and it's pulling the wrong information. That tends to be the problem, is the dirty data. And then I think the third biggest challenge of effective adoption is right now in the phase of global adoption that we're in, people's imaginations are outpacing the architecture of these interfaces. So they're getting frustrated trying to build agents that the architecture can't support yet. Before, I want to say last year, that wasn't our problem. I mean, there was a point in time where our biggest adoption problem was trying to explain what AI is to people. We have kind of grown past the AI phase of what this is. We're somewhat moving past the hype of it. I think there's still some hype getting played, but now it's like people know generally what it can do, and they're really excited and they want to build all these agents, but the architecture is not there. And then the user themselves don't know enough about the architecture for very good reason. Like some of it, people keep trying to keep proprietary, like, oh, this is it. And I'm like, no, that's just how AI works and has worked for a long time. So sometimes we do have to be a little more transparent about how these things work so that people understand where they're at and what they're able to build within these systems.
I like this comment that Rohit made. There should be an option for all the above in that poll specifically. But like, so I wrote legacy systems. You spoke about it briefly with the data being, that dirty. But do you think skills is still a challenge for teams?
I think they have to, like, I think the skill of the user has to evolve with AI, and we do have to bring them along in the journey. So sometimes we're like, we could build the most amazing thing. And I'm like, yeah, no one's going to be able to use it. Like, how valuable is this most amazing thing if no one else had to use it? You just, and there's a term out there that I will not say on his, but ask me later about what we call that. I had a professor, I'm going to say it. You're going to hit me, but I'm going to say it. So I had this professor way back, I want to say she was my bachelor's degree, Lisa Jensen. We're gonna blame Lisa, Professor Jensen.
No.
So we were in this product class. People were like thinking of all of these amazing products, and she had one very strong point that she drilled into my head in one sentence. All of these products out there were great, innovative, thoughtful, all these things, but she wanted to make the point, like, what problem that other people have are you solving here? And she said, if you're not solving someone else's problem and it's not accessible to the user, it's basically creative masturbation. Like, you're just doing it for yourself. You're welcome, Suji. I think that should be on the highlight reel. But because she used this word, it stuck with me for like more than 20 years, is that first you have to solve a problem that the people have. Or will have. Maybe they don't even know that they're having this problem, but it has to be an external problem. And then people have to use your tool in order to solve it. So if we create these complex AI systems that we expect the user to use, but we don't bring their skills along with us, they're not going to be able to use these systems. The only people are going to be able to use them, again, are the programmers. And if you're designing a platform that is supposed to be to the general audience, but only developers can use it, that's a challenge. And it sounds very like out there, like nebulous right now. Let me bring it back down to a real example. We next month I want to have a class with John Funk. I'm going to throw it out there in the universe. John Funk, you said yes, we're going to have to do it. He was trying to design an agent using Forge, and he hit a lot of challenges. And we have said to the world, you can vibe code your world away. You can create all these things using vibe coding. Well, he was trying to. And I would say John Funk is a little stronger than the average AI user. Like, he is a veteran admin. So for him to struggle, I'm like, what is the prior knowledge that we're trying to use here? And then I was like, start with Rovo Studio, design from there, start with a simple use case, and then grow up, like grow in complexity. And he had some success doing that. And that's what I want to highlight in next month's course. But it goes back to, if you're going to create a system, it has to be something that the users can actually use. And so we really have to develop those skills as we develop these systems.
Sure.
And then,
Hmm.
so I want to throw it back to the chat for a second. Does it still make sense to learn specific programming language when AI agents already use them much better? Almost any senior developer. And I would say it's still beneficial to learn the principles behind those programming languages, but not get deep into the complexities of those programming languages. So it
Hmm.
helps with the current phase of AI that we're in right now to have those fundamental skills, because you can vibe code a ton of things, but if you can't
Sure.
troubleshoot that vibe coding, it's worthless, because you need to know where it's not working. You can throw your vibe code into another agent and say, fix it for me. But
Hmm.
to cut you down on lots of hours and lots of frustration, and helps to have the fundamental of understanding of those systems and those programming languages. But do I depends on Python every day? Yeah, no, please don't.
Not anymore.
No.
But like it's weird, right? Like all of this has not gone into the depths of how our education system works, because with a technology like AI, how deeply it is getting into it, there are pros and cons to both side of it. But like people are still learning those programming languages, and then they are trying to work with the AI tools, because if you don't, then the problem is identifying issues that might creep in, because the AI agent might leave a back door that you can find out, but the agent will not.
Yeah. And agents tend to, we don't holistically troubleshoot agents. The human does, like I do. I make a
Yeah,
point to holistically do it. But so Amanda Barber, I love her. We were looking at an automation issue that was happening with Rovo. And she asked, what I encourage everyone to do is like ask your AI why it's acting weird. Like be like, why are you hallucinating? What are you pulling in it? And she did that.
sure.
And it gave her an answer of like what it might be. And then it said like a rendering issue within it. But she had asked Rovo in chat. And Rovo in chat was only looking at the issue from Rovo in chat. But in this
Sure.
conversation, you had Daryl Lee pop up and he's like, I test the whole system. And he did. He tested automation with AI and Rovo and all the systems, and it wasn't rendering. And I'm like, so if you
Mm.
only looked in chat and saw that it wasn't working, you would think it might be a rendering issue that might be a problem. But for the fact that it wasn't working in multiple systems, like it wasn't working
Sure.
in the automation within Rovo Studio, it wasn't working automations in your page. It's much more, it's a disconnect between the interface and pulling that information and rendering it. It's much more complex than that, than
Mm.
just what the problem is. So that's me saying that the human is still very much needed in order to troubleshoot holistically. I had
Sure.
a professor when I was getting my PhD who made us calculate statistics by hand. I'm talking paper
Wow.
and pencil and a very large eraser.
Nice.
And he was like, there is a program called SPSS. I'm going to show you how to do this all. And all of these calculations that are going to take you at least 30 minutes to calculate is going to happen in a second. And
Yeah.
you're going to want to skip directly to that program. But I think it's very important that you learn how to do these in pen and paper, so you appreciate what's happening in a second and all the calculations, and you can figure out where the calculations could possibly go wrong easier, instead of me having to explain it on the back end after that 1 second has elapsed. So that was his teaching approach. And I do think that teaching approach has value. Have
Sure.
I gone back and pen and paper? And could I do it pen and paper right now? Probably not. But it did lend to my understanding about how those statistics worked and function, like how to do those large, complex statistical analysis. It was
Mm.
painful, but we did it. And I did have a greater understanding of statistics
Yeah.
because of it. So it's the same. We're not at a place where you can just skip that step just yet.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been some great comments. I'm just gonna take 1 minute and just highlight all of them. First from Rodney, where he mentions, if you can't be the expert to call out a confident hallucination, you're going to be played the fool by AI.
Yes.
All of us who have been in this ecosystem, who talk about AI, have done this, have felt the heat of it as well, and like then become smarter over a period of time on how to take the responses that AI gives us in that manner as well. Liz says, uh, it's kind of like being an admin. So admins are not hired to fix what is right. Admins are there to fix, or better yet, prevent what could go wrong. And that's perfect because admins, I think the biggest job of an, again, we're not talking about admins. This session is not about Jira admins. But I say this every time to any admin that I mean. Your first and foremost job is to be confident enough to say no. Because if you learn that, that is your first, first achievement, that you should learn how to do that. And then, have the other person convince you why they should get that extra field or get that extra status or build that extra automation. So nuance needs humans. I love that, Liz. That's a t-shirt. Nuance needs humans.
Exactly. We live in right now in our development, we live in the world of nuance. Like there's a lot more to that one little comment, or there's
Sure.
yes, but,
Yes,
and
but
being
yeah.
able to see the nuance is that's a skill in and of itself. To critically think, it's all caged under this concept of critically thinking. We
Yeah.
need, that's the skill that we're going to need to develop in the AI age, is critically thinking, critically questioning. Critical questioning comes into the prompting. So like you have to
Hmm.
ask a good solid question in order to get a good solid answer. So critical questioning, critical thinking. Just because AI gives you a response doesn't mean that response is accurate. You have to evaluate your sources.
Hmm.
I saw this great platform when doing an analysis of marketplace providers. Great platform told me about like whether or not, I asked some of my trusted people. I was like, is this a good, do you think this is a reliable source? And they were like, hey, I think it is. And I knew that that's something I could depend on because I had vetted that information. Otherwise, it's rolling the dice on whether or not you're going to get accurate responses. And we do not want to play the fool.
Yeah.
One question or one statement from J.U. I love the titles when people log in with their YouTubes. Generative AI versus an AI agent versus LLM. Gen AI is just anything you generate. So you can generate music, you can generate text, you can generate images. So it's just a catch-all term to say anything that an AI, artificial intelligence, has created. And you can create a million things. An artificial intelligent agent is a doer. That's like that
Hmm.
thing that does it. The little, if you think about it as a bot that goes into the system, collects the information. And then LLM is a large language model. So it is a model that is designed to give you the next probable word that comes up. Now, language models aren't the only models that exist out there. There are image
Yeah.
models, there are voice models, and it's all around this concept of giving the next probable something, the next probable image, the next probable frame, the next probable action within a sequence of images that create a video, which goes, and as you can imagine, the more data sets, the points you have, the more complex that model becomes, the longer it takes to generate something.
That's so true. So I'll give you an example for this. So let me just highlight this pin first. So Shivam says, "I wonder what it would be like if there was a day-long AI lockdown and we had to spend the entire day without it, especially on a weekday." So over the weekend, I was at a different community event outside the Atlassian ecosystem. It was around AI at a company called Zebia. So they're a consulting org. They had a shout out to my good friends Ajay and Madhu who invited me. I went there. It was good conversation. We did a bunch of exercises around product management using AI. Super fun. So one of the gentlemen told me a very interesting use case. He said he was working with the team and they were supposed to have a release, and on the day of release they got an email early in the morning at around 4 a.m. saying that the release has to be pushed because their team's cloud credits have finished and they can't work on it till that is renewed, and it will take at least a day to renew them with the proper process and everything. And he told, I so honestly I've never experienced it, I've never felt that way, but hearing it from somebody who works in the consulting industry was a real scare, because it can be a place where it's okay to say that your credits are expiring so you won't work. And like I like it, it's weird, right? Like, what do you think, Val? Like, it's very weird for people to say it used to be a helper, then it became a teammate. Now is the deciding factor for you to push your code or not. How did we end
So
up here so quickly?
it has happened. I gotta say. So I work in a world of AI, and it is a real thing of like heavy consumers. So we have conversation of like, who's using all the tokens? Stop using all the tokens because I need some tokens. And then we've had a comment of like, do you only use this one AI? And the first thought that comes to mind, not the first thought that gets said, is no, I can't just use one AI. I would max out my tokens there in like 2 seconds. I have to have multiple AIs so that I can
Sure.
max out my tokens in
Yeah.
multiple areas, also multiple purposes. So different models are good for different results. And I like to switch between systems like a ChatGPT and Claude and Rovo, depending on what I'm doing. But it is a great hindrance. And I do think we need to be careful of over dependence on AI. You should be able to do some of those basic, simple tasks. Like you should be able to push your code. If it's written and you don't have a senior developer there that can write it because you guys were, that's a challenge. You should always have a backup plan, a plan B, someone who could write your code, even though it would take them 10 years to write it in the same to be the equivalent speed of the AI. You should have a senior person. It's just a good check and balance. It's one of those best practices because that person should be doing your code review on your AI in and of itself. You don't
Sure.
really want, like, we're not in a place in the technology where you could just release it into the world and think it's going to do well. Like, it's going to be super buggy if you don't have human overlooking at this
Yeah.
point. So, as someone who tends to max out their tokens, I say it is always good that you have the knowledge of experience. Like you still have to be able to know how to do the things yourself. It's amplifying, not replacing. So like
Yeah.
you want to still, in order to amplify your productivity, you still have to have the fundamental knowledge and under experience. There's a study that I did. It's on my LinkedIn page if you want to read the whole thing of like when specifically does AI increase your productivity in what circumstances. They
Okay.
saw that with senior developers, AI actually slowed them down. It slowed them down because they already knew the code quality. They had the speed in generating the code in order to deploy it. But when junior developers used it, it actually increased their productivity because it gave them the prior knowledge that they were lacking. And so it gave the productivity to the lower skilled person, but the higher skilled is slowed down. So look at that. We were talking about nuance earlier. Look at that nuance so that you're deploying AI in a mindful workflow, that you're not just blanketing and expecting it to have the same
Sure.
effect on everybody. And that you don't have to wait a day to deploy your code. You should have that senior
Yeah.
developer there who can step in, fix it, and then go forward.
Do you think it's like these agents and these coding assistants are exposing the flaws in the system that have always been there, but we're just too dependent on these helpers? And when they are not around, it's becoming a challenge. Like it's a skill challenge first, and which is just amplified by the fact that you've not sharpened your skill. So, like, if you ask me, like you and a lot of those people in the chat, unless Microsoft and Atlassian both go down together, I think I'll be fine without AI.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, I don't think so. I mean, like, unless I can't talk to somebody in Teams and unless I can't send looms because I use a lot of looms for communication, I think it'd be okay. But
Yeah, and I can
that's
work like I can work in a physical library with actual books that actually smell like books, and I could do pen and paper. Like I can
nice.
diagram you out on a pen and paper if you want. And I still do at like sales meetings. If we're in the middle of a conference, I'll grab a pen and paper and like let me diagram this out for
Sure.
you and show
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And then show it
So
like this.
like I show you, not on my 12, not on my iPhone 12.
Yeah.
It's too tiny. So AI is what I like to call the great amplifier. So
Mm.
it can amplify all your skills and like speed up your productivity, but it can also amplify all your flaws, and it can amplify the flaws within your system. So when it's querying a ton of information and spitting out the wrong response, it's because it's amplifying all of the dirty data that is in your knowledge bases. So it's amplifying that, and then it's making it like it's putting it in the face of the user, which is not always a good thing. So like then we have to fix that flaw. Also on the architecture side, if you're having AI use a lot of resources and throw a lot of information out there and really depend on your architecture, you're going to see very quickly where your architecture starts to break, where your system starts to slow. Same thing with automations. If you throw a ton of automations into your Jira, you're going to see that bad boy slow down. Also be careful when you do that with AI automations as well. AI can increase the speed you run in the wrong direction. Rob, you've been here this entire time.
Yeah, and Rodney just said who's who of Atlassian creators. Like just the whole batch is sitting here in the chat, and to people on the screen talking as well.
Also, Jimmy told me I'm not going to have
Jimmy
my
was here,
hoodie. So I'm not happy with Jimmy right now. There was a winky face on that. Jimmy has the best hoodie in the whole wide world. It is old and soft, but looks brand new. Maybe I need to buy a hoodie, an Atlassian hoodie, give it to Jimmy and be like, Jimmy, break this in for me and then take it from him. I think that's a good plan. Not to digress. Anyways, back to you, Sajid. Get us back on track.
Yes. So there is one topic that we've not touched. There is one specific topic about today that I wanted to touch, which is MCP. So it's a very commonly thrown term now, just like I think API was a couple of years ago. It's come to that level where everybody would be like, oh, you can use an API and just connect it and get that information. Now it is, oh, you can just use MCP and you can get that information. So for our audience who might not know, what is an MCP and what are the benefits of using it? And while I do that, audience, which company introduced the MCP? Which company introduced model context?
Oh no, I don't even know the answer to this question. Can I Google
OpenAI, Anthropic, Microsoft, or Google?
Who are my
okay
options?
While they do that, what is
OpenAI,
MCP?
Anthropic, Microsoft, or Google? I have a guess. It is going to be an educated guess. I'm not going to tell you my guess until everybody rings in.
But that's okay. So you can actually tell us what MCP is.
Okay. So MCP, I was pulling up. There is a article in the forums I wrote. Studio Forge, MCP, TWG, Dev CLI, what is the difference? And in this article, I don't know, Seji, if you could link it in the chat. I don't know if people have the ability. Let me link it to you.
Yes, if you could send it to me, I'll post it here.
Oh, I don't think I even have the ability to do that. Oh, private chat.
You can just send it to me on Slack, or you can send it to me here on. There we go.
So there was the security question. Okay. So MCP, the reason why people are talking about it so much now, it's because how two AI systems communicate. So all AI systems you would think would speak the same language. No, because they're designed by humans, and all designers, there's various different options you can to create these AI systems, like to create Claude, to create ChatGPT, to create all these systems. So they all speak slightly different languages, just like coding languages. You can code in a million different languages. How are we going to get these two systems to communicate? MCP. MCP is your communication regulator. It says these are all the syntax we're going to use. These are all the communication lines that we're going to use. And it connects the systems and it gives them the ability to communicate agentic system to agentic system. So it's the roads in which AI communicates. And in this post, I go through all the different features, like what is the teamwork graph? The teamwork graph is how Atlassian defines relationships between how people work. And it has various different fields. And if you want to create an agent and access the relationships between various people, that field needs to be exposed. If it's not exposed by Atlassian, that agent's not going to work because they can't access that information. And so it helps to understand the city, to know which tools you're going to need to do what when designing your agents. So I encourage everybody to read this post, understand the city, It also tells you how CLIs work. Like CLIs are your walkie talkies. It's what you use. It's kind of like texting. It's how you're
Mm.
giving mass instructions to these agents as you design them, instead of giving them question like instruction by instruction, or like step by step instructions. You're giving them a whole guide of instruction at once by writing it into the program itself using the command line interface. But you can have a CLI for anything. You can have it for RoboDeb, you can have it for Teamwork Graph, you can have it for literally anything that you want to give direct instructions to. You want to create programmable instructions, you can create a CLI for it. You don't want to, it's a whole development task, but it can have a CLI. So if you hear Teamwork Graph CLI, Atlassian Rovo CLI, it's CLI is just a way they're trying to give you the ability to program directly into something. But check out the post. It has a graphic with it. Learn it, love it, ask me questions about it, and we can go from there. I think it'll help you orient yourself within the agent creation. One person on the had a question in the chat. I think I lost it. It was about safety and whether or not they feel. I am hesitant to give AI agents access to my personal emails and text messages since they rely on platforms like NAN, and third-party LLMs. How can I ensure that my data remains private and secure? And this is Raj Karan 75
Rajkaran, yes.
Yes. So I would not connect everything that I own to an AI right now. And that is coming from someone who works in AI regularly. The reason I say that is because I still hear reports of random leaks. Like there was a news report, and I don't know the validity of this new article. I didn't get deep into it. I get a lot of news feed about AI on a regular basis, about people's ChatGPT information randomly being leaked, not like on the internet or anything like that, but with outside their environment. Until I have satisfactory knowledge that there are strong guardrails being used by everyone throughout our entire community when they're designing these things, I will not give AI access to everything. I will keep it within its own program, and I will not be connecting all of the possible connections, because you can connect every single thing that you have out there in the world to each other. They can all pull in. It will take forever and it'll slow down your speed, but you can do it. But it is hard for the individual to have 100% confidence that their data is secure. So be mindful, only connect the data that you need connected that helps improve your workflow. If you cannot monitor it and regulate it, I don't suggest connecting it. But back to MCP. More questions about that.
Right. So let me pull up the poll back up. So people have said mostly Anthropic. It was towards Microsoft first, then it became Anthropic. What is your answer?
So I want to say Google, but if I had to say a backup person, like who also has the ability to create an MCP from scratch, I would say Anthropic. Definitely won't say Microsoft. Although Microsoft, I was surprised that it actually had created GitHub Copilot, and I was like, well, I like GitHub Copilot. It's beefy. What is the answer?
That's right. MCP was created by Anthropic.
Yeah, there you
2024, they created it and they made it open source.
Oh, did they? And see, the important part of there is they made it open source because they're creating something that is giving various different AIs the ability to communicate. And if you don't make it open source, then people have to pay for it. They may not use it. They may create their own. We needed something that would help connect these systems and like within real time without the competition. They helped us skip a whole phase of development there. So like shout out to Anthropic. That is why ConnectCentric is an Anthropic partner. I'm just going to throw that plug in there for you. That's right.
Nice. Funny thing about this entire application and the entire avenue with MCP is when I read that it was launched in 2024, I was like, it was 2 years back. It's 2026. How quickly have time gone? It's like we were just talking about MCP and now it's 2 years old in the system. But yeah, thank you for that. Well, everybody else who selected Microsoft, I also thought that to begin with in the beginning, but then Microsoft, as Val mentioned, was more towards GitHub and Copilot, and they started doing that. But I think the official term and the entire process of MCP being open source was the key for it to spread like it has over the years.
Yeah, without it being open source, we wouldn't have so many conversations about MCP right now because there would just be mass
Yeah,
competition in creating MCPs, and then the struggle over whose MCP should we be using? Oh, who's the popular MCP? And it would just take 3 times as long. So when anyone sees me grumble over certain approaches of like, why are you so grumbly about like that one thing? Like, why does it matter that we have one Slack channel, not two Slack channel? It's because I'm trying to skip you. I'm trying to skip us from getting distracted and spending 3 years talking about the difference between
yeah,
Rovo Studio and just regular Rovo. Like, I want us to get past that, like
oof,
that whole conversation that is kind of, we don't need to have it to really do what we want to do and keep us working towards our goal in being effective users of AI, because the rest of that is just distraction. And we want to be anthropic with giving open source MCP. We want
yeah,
to be on the fast track. We don't want to be way behind there trying to figure out everything in slow mo.
nice, nice.
Speaking of time, the corona. Oh, what was the last one? Speaking of time, the corona. What?
The coronavirus was 7 years ago. Liz is throwing some shade at Microsoft.
I love you, Liz.
Nice. Perfect. So those were actually the general questions that I had. We are just coming up on time. If there are any more questions, please use chat. Please reach out to Val. I've highlighted the comment on the stream, so you can see that article that Val wrote about Studio Forge, MCP, TWG, Dev CLI. What's the difference between all of these? And it's CLI, Rob. It's not CLI. Nobody calls it CLI.
Oh God! Don't give
CLI.
him any ideas. We don't need
He's
to start
already,
spreading
the other day I
seeds.
saw him. He was creating an event. So as champions, you can see what other champions are creating and putting in the draft. There was a session called CLI. I was like, no, it's not called
No,
CLI. It's
don't do it. Don't
CLI.
do it,
It's
Rob.
not JQuil. It's JQL.
Also, SAP, SAP. Like they're very like that's our brand. It's SAP.
Yeah,
Da, da, da,
nobody
SAP.
calls
I'm
it
like, no,
IBM.
SAP.
It's IBM. It's not IBM.
Boom. So one last question in the chat. Wouldn't AI be a better way for schools and colleges to answer student
Yeah.
questions with personalized, accurate, and instant responses? Absolutely. And there are colleges that are out there doing this now. So I want to say, I'm going to get the college name wrong. It's in San Francisco. It's a college. A college in San Francisco. I recently did QA for their AI agents. And without breaking my NDA, I will say that there are some great innovations happening on our universities on incorporating AI to create individual learning experiences within a class for
Hmm.
students. So competition. I have lots of views on competition. I don't compete with other people. I compete with myself to always become the next great version of myself. And I like this concept
Nice.
that colleges are doing to create these individualized learning experiences because you're competing with yourself. So you're walking out of that universe, that course with the best version that
Hmm.
you can be, not comparing me to how best I could be to Sajid, because I'm not working towards Sajid's best. His best and my best are two different things. We're two different people. Um, so they're not only incorporating it within, like, you know how there's that big debate of like, is using ChatGPT cheating in a college course? They've
Yeah.
skipped that question altogether and said, oh yes, now you're using those AIs in your courses and it's an
Sure.
expectation, and you're not getting graded on the output that the GPT is giving you. You're being graded on your ability to critically analyze those outputs to see if they're good, and then your ability to make decisions based on that output. That's where we're going. That's where we want to be.
I think you can envision a future where you can like open book test. You can say, hey, you can use GPT, but you have to use this GPT, and you'll share your screen, and we want to see what prompt you are giving to GPT to answer our question.
Yes. And I think that's where we're going. Like, we're working more with the prompt, what you're putting in and what you're getting out, and not necessarily the generation process. Like,
Yeah,
we're evaluating people on how well they can create like critical questioning, and then at the end, critical evaluation, like critical
yeah,
thinking skills on how accurately you determine how you determine that output's accuracy, and then how you use that information in order to do your job, to improve your thing. And if you're working off of a bad output and you're generating code off of it, we're going to judge you accordingly. And that's where it's going. And it's very exciting in a lot of ways, and very like anxious causing in a lot of ways as
yeah.
well.
There's another very awesome question right towards the end. Why Atlassian has so many limitations to share data model even between its products and for tools. Example, the data lake for BI doesn't expose all tables used by GSM.
Oh, I mean, that's a good question. I don't want to
Mm,
say when you have an answer on that one, let me know. So it's hard to answer that question without being in the heads of the Alassians that created. I would say Alassian has a few challenges when it comes to speed of iterating. Like, they right now are iterating like nothing else. Like, it goes so fast, it
yeah.
goes so fast. The challenge that I see Atlassian has is it's so big and it's iterating so fast that people sitting right next to each other, like Saji and me sitting right next to each other, don't
Yeah.
seem to be communicating. And
Yeah.
and then it's hard to see the logic as the end user of why they deploy various different things. To me, I look at it and I'm like, why did you do this and this, but not this in the
Not
middle? Because this
together.
in the
Yeah.
middle is the critical piece that me as
Yeah.
an end user cares about.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see their logic on some of the things. I do try to piece it out on occasion. I do give them recommendations. So if you do have a recommendation for them, like you have a field that you just, if they just gave you that one field, you'd be able to do all these use cases. Throw it up in the suggestions. Use JAC, Jack. Is that one for Robert?
That's
Can we
right.
call it
Jack.
Jack? So that they understand from the end user's perspective of how they should be designing it. We're in uh, new territory for everybody. Developing these AI interfaces are newer. We're forming our best practices as we go, and I think everybody can use some help, especially the quote unquote experts. So, as a user, everybody be vocal. I
Mm,
encourage you all, please be kind,
nice.
but be vocal.
Be kind, but be vocal. That's a good point to end the session on. Once again, thank you, Val, for joining us today. It was a great conversation. Thank you, everybody in chat. We started with almost 60 people just on YouTube, not counting LinkedIn. And right up till 5 minutes ago, we had almost 50 people. Now, I'm assuming people are going to jump to their other meetings, so we have somewhere around 40. But thank you, everybody, for joining us through this series. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to Val or me. You'll find both of us very me semi-active on LinkedIn these days, but definitely community. That is one place where both of us show up from time to time. I've pinned that comment. I'll leave that comment in there in the chat so you can read that article. Uh, and yes, one more thing that I would say is at Ace Quiz Biz, we are doing another masterclass. This time we are going a little more closer towards home. So before coming into the Atlassian ecosystem, I was a project manager. I still feel at some places I feel more closer to a PM than I am to an admin, because that's a role that I don't take as a job anymore. But being a PM is still a job. So we are doing this new series called How You Can Become an AI PM. We are starting the first episode on 12th August. The focus will be on teamwork collection, Jira, Confluence, Loom, and Rovo. We are expanding it a little bit and we are very excited towards it. You'll still find a lot of familiar faces as guests with me during this series. The event will be posted out tonight, I believe, on the community led classes. And we'll see you there. Thank you for joining us for the series. Val, once again, thank you for opening and closing the show with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. We look forward to seeing you guys on the next series. Liz, Jimmy, Robert, all the champions that are in the chat, thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for asking your amazing questions, everybody. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Dig a little deeper, see a little clearer, learn from the people who've been there before. Real stories, real experience, real insight. This is Ace Quiz Masterclass.